Oh boy.
Yeah, Levi, erase that blob.
Oh, you caught me. I'm in the hallways of Harvard and working on a very complex math problem. I must be very smart.
You need therapy from Robin Williams.
Yeah, but I'm gonna reject him at first and be mean to him about his passed away wife.
Those are your defenses from your rough childhood.
Right, but it's not my fault.
It's not your fault. Hey, it's not your fault.
Stop it.
Don't you know
Stop it.
that it's not your fault?
Stop. Oh!
Do you get it now?
Yes, all my problems are fixed.
That's all that it takes.
Then you make a movie about it. That was actually their relationship in real life at the time.
No way.
Oh no.
You know, I didn't realize that it was about a guy named Will Hunting. I thought it was like, hey, you're gonna go hunting? Here's Goodwill. I didn't know. I just didn't know.
You just didn't know. It's not your fault.
There is no way for me to know. Don't you see that?
I see that. I also see that every time you exhale, the breath goes out the eyeball holes of that mask and fogs up your glasses.
Well,
I really hope they can see it, but unlikely.
That's how lions work.
Oh, they breathe out of their eye holes?
Yeah, did you not know that?
I didn't know that, but it's not my fault.
What do you think about the two of us doing a sick dance break?
I feel pretty good. 1, 2, 3, go!
You've got to do better than that, Mr. Levi. Are you okay?
I'm okay, but my marker's not.
You're ruining the dance break. 7:30 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
1, 2, 3, let's go. Hey everybody, how are you? Oh boy. Hi, I'm Levi. Oh boy, you know what? This is probably not gonna work super well. Quantum computing. You're saying affirmative is in there are a lot of dropped frames? Is that what you're saying? Just let me know. So yeah, let me know that. Ooh. Okay. So gotta open that up. Gotta open up that. Well, it seems quite choppy for me, not sure. No, it's not you. Let me fix this. Hey, here in the moment. Is this better? Brady is not here this week. Quantum, is this better now? Are there fewer dropped frames at this point? There should be. Okay, yeah, bummer. Okay, it's got to be what it is. Brady is out in, I don't know if I'm allowed, whatever. Brady is that what I want to do right now? Whatever. Brady is in Hawaii right now. So he's gone for a little bit because he's at a wedding. It's not his wedding, but he's got to go and he's very excited. I don't know when the wedding actually is, but he's gone this week. So it's just me. So clubbing. Yeah, maybe clubbing. That's not a terrible guess for Brady. He's a big clubbing guy. We're both very big clubbing guys. What else you got? other questions about Brady. I can't answer most questions about Brady. He looks like a clubber. Clubber. What am I thinking? Oh, I'm thinking of Flubber with Robin Williams. That's what I was thinking. So, Quantum, do you have any questions? Aside from Brady's specific one? Oh, I gotta post on Discord, don't I? Okay, so, everyone, we're live. What sort of questions? SAT questions, ACT questions. Yeah, and are you not in high school? Is that the situation for you? There we go. That's better. SAT, ACT questions. That's what the stream is for. If you don't like it, you can ask. Oh, you're a postdoc. That's similar. I can't think of any even stupid way to explain how that's similar. Jay the Whiz Kid, what's up? Hi, Jay. Do you have any questions? Congrats on the doctorate. So it's that time. I'm studying for the SAT now. Ooh, very exciting. Are you taking it in December? Or are you taking it next year, calendar? Calendar. I'm taking it in May because I'm still learning Algebra 2 this year. Okay, that makes sense. How's Algebra 2 going? Do you have anything going on right now in Algebra 2 that's difficult? Because I'm happy to talk about any of the concepts from your class right now, because almost everything from Algebra 2 is on it. Oh, gosh. My back hurts. But in a good way. I'm going to look on Reddit, see if there's anything fun to do. Algebra 2 is easy right now due to us doing two-way systems. Oh, like one-to-one function type stuff? But I'm likely finishing with a C this marking period. That's a bummer. Started out not so good. Let's go to the SAT. Let's go to new. Okay, good. So it's just this one. What happened in class? What fell apart? I assume at the beginning, if it's easy now. I found out about Twitch last month, and since I just finished academia, I don't really have anything time-consuming at the moment. Ah, that's good. Well, hey, Jerklump. Yeah, well, Twitch is time-consuming, so you're in the right place if you want to consume time. I don't know basic math, like how to divide, add, or sub, and etc. with fractions and everything. I don't know. I just lost all the foundations. But I know them now, I assume, and I'm putting more work into math and all my other classes. Cool. Okay, so yeah, you have your head on straight about it, because the foundations don't really come into play until you see weird stuff. Until you see something that hits on like an old foundational thing about fractions when you're doing, exponents, and then you don't know how to do the exponents, but it's mainly because of the fractions. I'm not sure about the dark side of Twitch. I just stick to the educational channels. That's cool. That's probably a good call. Yeah, that's us. Me today. Ooh, I'm thirsty. Anybody have any water? I think that's full. Oh, you sent a question in Discord. Lovely. Thank you, Jerkland. Jay, if you have questions, which I'm sure you do you have like what foundational math stuff is difficult for you? Because I really, my guess is that it's confusing for most people. 74F. Thank you, Jerkland. Jerklump. Yes. Yes. 25, 74F. It will be done.
I think you just have to win one more. And
Give me a second, I'll pull it up, Jerklump. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Okay. Wow, that's stupid. 74F. You said question 25 on the reading. Okay. So this passage, let me just pull it up. Oh boy, real quick. There's that. There's that. Okay. Can you read that well enough? Fractions mostly, simplifying radicals with fractions. Okay, let's do fractions later. After we do this question and anything else relating to this passage, we can go to fractions. Okay, so just to refresh, this passage is adapted from the article The Quiet Sideman by nobody, it doesn't matter. Okay, so this is the musician one. This is Barry. Okay, you said 25, so let's just identify the question type first. We have the author indicating, the author indicates that during Barry's time as a musician, swing music was primarily regarded as 27-2 if you have time. Yeah, let's do 25 and 27. If you want something more than one of those, then let me know. I haven't read this passage in a while. Ooh. Okay, so 25 to 27. This is just a detail question. So my guess is that, so what was the problem with 25 if you've done it or failed to do it correctly? Were you just totally unable to find the answer? Or you think your answer is right and you just don't understand why they're saying the other thing that's actually technically correct? Just let me know what the mistake was. I was unable to find the answer. Okay, so the author indicates that during Barry's time as a musician, swing music was primarily regarded as, okay, you think you were right in picking B. Okay, you can. I don't want to necessarily look at the answer choices first, so I'm going to go back up, and I'm going to use what I'm guessing about this, which is Barry's time as a musician. How was music? Swing music was primarily regarded as, okay, so that doesn't mean how Barry sees the music. It means how people in general primarily see the music, specifically swing music. So let's go up. My guess is when we're talking about how people generally see something, it's at the beginning, but I could be totally wrong. That's very possible. Okay, so near the end of his 8 years recording yada yada yada, Barry lived here, or short-lived something, 28 seconds a solo lasted, retreated to yada yada yada. When you hear the recording for the first time, you're likely to wonder why you've never heard Barry before. Okay, so that's all useless. Okay, so this looks good, this second paragraph here. Why you've never heard of him is pretty simple. A lot of hardcore jazz buffs don't know much about him. Barry was a solid, okay, maybe not. Solid session player who turns up in Henderson, Billie Holiday, but he did not cut many sessions himself as a leader, and when he soloed, he worked within the recording constraints of the era and the swing genre. Fast-moving 78s with solos often lasting a mere 32 beats. Okay, so that's describing, there's a little bit at the end describing, Oh, sorry. I meant this paragraph here. That's the one I was just reading. I don't think that gives us much, so that's not super helpful. And obviously, you shouldn't be taking this long to read through a question. I just haven't read this passage in a long time, so I don't actually remember where this answer would be. The people who loved Barry were, not surprisingly, other players. Musician. Okay. So nothing in the first 3 paragraphs. This fourth one here with line 30 in the middle of it. He faced the lot of other horn players, having to grind it out. Oh, okay, so on line 30 we have the prejudices and expectations of the listening public and the accepted wisdom of what is and isn't art in a given medium. In this case, swing was fodder for dance parties, not music worthy. Not music worthy of study. There it is, at the end of this paragraph. It's not saying straight out, actually it is. It says, swing was the fodder for dance parties. That means people listen to it at dance parties. That's what it's for. It's just like what house music is now. I don't know. I don't go to dance parties. That's not true. Whatever. So that's where the answer is. So let's look at 25 now. A, an opportunity for soloists to show off their skills. That's not what that said. A genre to be most appreciated by young people. Didn't really say that specifically. Let me know, where did you find B? How would I know where it is instantly after reading? You wouldn't necessarily. So this is the problem with the ACT, or the challenge of the ACT. So the answer is D, music for dance parties but not music for study. Yeah, so that's exactly what it said. So obviously, if you see that line, it's a super, super obvious question to answer, right? Very easy. That's not the challenge. So, Jerk, are you, I know you've told me, you have trouble getting through the passage, right? And finishing this section in time, in the 35 minutes? It said music for dance parties, so I thought it was a genre appreciated by young people. Okay, that was an assumption you made. This test is not about you being creative. It is not about you doing what you do in English class normally, with it, which is, okay, what do you think about this? What is the author implying here? That's not what this question is. This question is straight up, the author indicates this. Dance parties are not necessarily for young people. That is a jump. Now, it's not a huge jump. I'm not saying that's a stupid thing to think, but you want to go with D. I have a question for you. Did you look at all 4 answers? Because if you found those lines, then D is a pretty clear correct answer. Please don't just say yes or no, because I don't remember how I asked that question. Also, if anybody else has questions, please let me know, because we have fractions coming up next. I did look at all 4 answers, but I remember something about the genre of music. So, yeah, a genre to be most appreciated by young people, and music for, it is music, it is also a genre of music. So that word doesn't really change the meaning of what we're saying, whereas appreciated by young people, that's the main idea of that answer choice, and D, the main idea is it's for dance parties, not for study. I would say you do need to be able to differentiate between what is the more important part of that idea. Genre of music and music for this and a genre for this, that's the same thing. If everything else was the same in those answer choices, then that would be the difference. But in this case, it's not the main thing. I put up a question from my booklet. Your booklet. Oh, Jay. Okay, cool. Yes, we will do that in a sec. Do you find Khan Academy good for math? Yes, Khan Academy is fantastic for math if you can pay attention. It's not the most engaging thing, but if you're dedicated, then yes, work through Khan Academy. That will help you significantly. Now, the problem with going back to foundational stuff with Khan Academy is it covers all of it. And foundational stuff, you'll find that you have gaps in your knowledge, not so much that you just, obviously you know how to do math for the most part of what you learned so far, but there are just going to be holes in it, so therefore not everything you're watching on Khan Academy is going to be that useful. So put things on 2x speed, or 1.5x speed, whatever you want to do to speed it up, and then skip videos that you know how to do it. That's fine. Do a couple practice questions, make sure, okay, I got it, and then move on. Khan Academy is fantastic, though. It's really, really exhaustive in its coverage of high school math. So 25, let's do 27, then we can talk about it generally, and then we'll go to Jay's question on Discord for math. Okay, number 27. In the 7th paragraph, lines 57 to 75, the author compares sidemen to traveling salesmen in order to... Okay, so this is more of an English class type of question where they're not saying, what did they literally say? It's asking, they did this to do what? What is the purpose of that? This is what I call a purpose question. So you need to understand the passage as a whole and what the author is going for to understand one of these more specific purposes of the author. So let's go up and read this paragraph. It's pretty long, but we're looking for the comparison from of sidemen and traveling salesmen. So this paragraph here on the right column. I'm just going to read this quickly. You can read it to yourself. I don't want to read it out loud necessarily. Also, if I'm doing this and you're bored, you should be figuring out questions that you want to ask me. You can either put it in the Discord or you can do other stuff. I don't know. Or put it in chat or ask me other questions about Brady or somebody. Or tell your friends and your children and your parents. Okay, after making his way to New York, Barry immediately became... Okay, so line 61. The sidemen were musical traveling salesmen who sold someone else's wares in the best style they could manage. It was with Fletcher Henderson that Barry began to ditch some of the sideman's subservient trappings. Okay, so why did they do this? The way they talk about salesmen is very important. So sidemen were like traveling salesmen who sold someone else's wares in the best style they could manage. This is negative. You're selling somebody else's stuff. So let's just make sure it's negative. And we're talking about, and then we say that Barry began to ditch some of the sideman's subservient trappings. What does that mean? So he's ditching stuff. He's getting rid of things that he does that are like that sidemen do, that the type of thing that traveling salesmen do. So there's all negative stuff. And subservient trappings. That's difficult, but you hopefully, maybe you don't know how you don't know how trappings fits in here because that's a very specific use of that word. But subservient is when you are serving somebody else. You are below them, that type of thing. So let's go to this question 27. Why do they make this comparison? Make clear how often musicians had to travel. No, it's not about travel. They didn't say that at all, aside from the word traveling salesman. Useless. B, indicate that musicians often had side jobs. No, that's maybe a misinterpretation that if you're a sideman, you're also a traveling salesman at the same time. That's not the same thing. And C, illustrate sidemen's supportive role in a band. Okay, I want something more negative, but I'm not getting rid of that one quite yet. And then D, show how hard sidemen worked to get hired. No, nothing about hiring. So C would be the answer. Sidemen's supportive role. Supportive goes with the word subservient. There you go. So it's not just exactly where they put that thing that they reference in 27, but the context around it. They're showing something by making that comparison. Please let me know if you have any more questions on that, Jay. Or Jerk. Sorry, Jerk one. Brady is in a wedding in Chicago. No, sorry. What am I saying? Brady is at a wedding in Hawaii, which is way better than Chicago with as a wedding venue, in my opinion. I got negative connotation, and I just dismissed C as the answer. Yeah, I also got negative connotation, so I was looking for that, but there were other parts of it. Ooh, so what was it? Ooh, you discovered something insane. Hi, here in the moment. Hello. Do you have questions? You should. You can schedule an email to be sent later automatically. Yeah, that's a new-ish thing. You're talking about Gmail specifically? I'm sponsored by Gmail. Gmail sponsors me. They pay me negative money to have a business email. That's cool. Okay, I'm going to drop this and then pull up the whatever it's called, Discord, for Jay's question. Okay, so we're just solving for z here, so I'm just going to keep this up there. And then I'm going to erase it in a second, or get rid of it. Now it'll seem like I'm waking up early. Exactly. So we have z over 6 times 3 over 2 minus 7 equals 2 times 3z minus 4. Okay, nice. I'm so jealous of some kids who have tutoring. Yeah, tutoring definitely helps a lot. I can vouch for that idea because I am a tutor, and it definitely helps my students a lot. But you have us, so you can ask us any questions you want. Especially if you're doing this stuff, this is all on the SAT. This is super useful. These are, early SAT questions for sure. Like that problem scares me. Okay, if this scares you, then fear not, sweet whiz kid. We're solving for z. So eventually we want z to be on one side of the equation and everything else to be on the other. So on the SAT, if you have your answer choices here, you can plug in answers for z and then see if they work. That probably would take too long because the answers seem to be all fractions and that would be ugly, and it seems like you're not, you might be scared of fractions. I don't know, probably simplify early, then distribute. Yeah. Good. So by simplify early, I assume you mean do this and this. You get 1 and 2. Then this would become z over 4 minus 7 equals, distributing here, we get 6z minus 8. Are you with me so far? Does that feel good here? Is that all fine? Or are you, if you are at all uncomfortable with anything I just did, please let me know. Anybody, not just Jay, but somebody else too. Oh, sorry, jerk, that was you who said that. Jay, do you feel good about this or no? Because this is your question. I want to make sure you feel good, because there's no point in me just doing this. I don't care about doing this problem. I want to make sure you can understand all the pieces that go into it. Please tell me. Also, I have no more questions upcoming, so this is the last one. So if you have questions, please ask. Because it is just me. I won't be able to survive as long as if it's me and Brady, because I get bored without him. I miss him. I should text him. Probably on the beach somewhere. Yes, I can. Okay. So one thing with fractions, my guess is this wasn't too bad for you. It's just distributing the 2 to both of the things inside the parentheses. So 2 times 3z would be 6z, and then you have 2 times negative 4, which is negative 8, right? So you get 6z minus 8. My guess is that's okay, but if it's not, then we can talk about it. My guess is this is the harder part here for you. For this part, what Jerklump said is simplify early. And what that means is, let's say you have something like 1/4 times 2/7. Okay, 1/4 times 2/7. When you multiply fractions, you multiply across. So you get 1 times 2, which is 2, over 4 times 7, which is 28. But this isn't simplified. Yes, that is an incredibly useful thing. And yeah, so you forget a lot of math. That's what we forget a lot of things, because especially things we don't like, because why would we want to remember them? So yeah, this is fine. You could do this, and then you say, okay, well, this is simplifiable to 1 over 14. Or before you do that, you can say, well, as long as you take one from the top, one from the bottom, you can say, I'm going to divide both of these by 2, and you get 2 here and 1 here. And then you have 1 times 1, which immediately gets you to 1, and 2 times 7, which immediately gets you to 14. If you simplify everything in the factors here, you will not have to simplify here, unless you miss a simplification part. So, does that make you feel more comfortable about getting from z over 6 times 3 halves to z over 4? If it does, we can move on from this. Now this isn't done. There's still some weirdness going on. Nothing crazy, but dealing with the next step is a little bit annoying. Jay, I feel like you might be very behind the stream. I'm not sure why. Like maybe your latency is just kind of high for whatever reason. Yes, definitely simplify fractions as much as possible, as early as possible. It's almost always a better idea. Okay, now the goal is to get z by itself. So we got rid of the parentheses, which are kind of annoying and in the way. Now we need z by itself. We can do this one of two ways. I'm going to move this z over here. When it looks hard, I usually give up and try to do an easier way. Yeah. You just refreshed. Okay, thank you, Jay. That's probably a good, or couldn't hurt. So I want to get this z over 4 to this side. The reason I'm doing that is to show you something later, and just because 6z is bigger than z over 4. So I'm going to subtract z over 4 from both sides. I get negative 7 equals, now I'm going to do the 6z minus z over 4 over here. So 6z minus z over 4. We do not have a common denominator. When we're doing addition and subtraction with fractions, you need a common denominator. So 6z will become 24z over 4 minus z over 4, which will be 23z over 4, which is ugly, but there's nothing you can do about it. Please let me know at any point if you start falling behind. You gotta let me know, because this is for you, Jay. So we know that the z now is going to be 23z over 4. Now we have minus 8 here. I want that 8 to the other side, so let's add 8 to both. We now have, let me get rid of this. Other people who are watching, you're just watching me do this, which is fine. I hope you're learning a lot, but you would learn more if you ask me questions. And you wouldn't have to deal with me asking you to ask questions all the time. I don't do that if the questions are being asked. That does make sense. It does. So now we have negative 7 plus 8, which is 1, equals 23z over 4. Oh, wait, wow. That's it. Yes. Yes, it is. When you feel like something is hard, it doesn't make it easier, for sure. There is no math that you don't know on this question, for sure. Oh, you can. You can. If you don't like the fractions, okay. Just how we do it. That's right. Okay, so then from here, okay, so here's what I want you to take away from this problem. The reason it seems simple when I do stuff is because, first of all, I know exactly where I'm going to go. But there is an order of things that I follow. Thank you, here in the moment. What you're doing makes sense. Generally, it's a good idea. Well, okay, so number one, when you were trying to isolate a variable, so isolating variables. I'm sorry, please do not get mad. I am not mad here in the moment. His voice was so scary. Yes, I'm a very intimidating tutor. That's what everybody says. Number one, for isolating variables, is you want it on that side, but there are things you have to do in the meantime. Let's call it x. So put x terms on same side. That is the goal. Of course it is, right? Like if you want to solve for z here, you have a z here and you have a z here. How are you going to eventually get to z equals something? Well, the z's have to be on the same side. Now, we can't just do that nice and easy because this z is part of this multiplication here. This z is inside of this garbage here. So how are we going to deal with it? Well, let's do this multiplication and then let's do this distribution so that we can eventually get the z to the other side. Doesn't matter which z you go for or which side you put the z on. So that's the first step. Now, second step is dealing with weird stuff. So this weird stuff can come in a lot of forms, but you want to get x out of denominator. That's a big deal. If you have an x in the denominator, you have to get it out. Is Brady your friend or partner? Brady is both my friend and my business partner. Actually, yeah, Brady and I despise each other and we just put on a very good show. But working with him is truly the worst part of life. That's not true. No, it's not. I mean, it's not like a stupid question. Valid. It's a little awkward. Just wondering. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. So get x out of the denominator. Does this make sense? It's something like, I shouldn't ask that before I actually show you. If you have something like x over 2 equals 7, you probably know, well, to get x by itself, you have to multiply by 2 on both sides, right? Multiply by 2 here, multiply by 2 here. Those cancel. You get x equals 14, right? Yes, this is not done yet. So I haven't quite finished this yet. The last step here, I'm going to erase this. The last, because z is not by itself, right? The goal is to get z by itself. So we have one more step to go, or two, depending on how you do it. But I'm going to do it in one, and it's not something that's particularly difficult to do. And it is a very important thing to remember when doing math. Ooh, we got an ooh. Does that mean you know what to do as the last step? Super itchy. Okay. Yeah, generally if you're solving for z, the answer will not have a z in it. That would be unusual. So, our last step is to multiply by the reciprocal here. This can be written, this is the same thing as 23 over 4 times z, right? Z doesn't have to be inside the fraction itself necessarily, but what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. That is how you get rid of a fraction. If it's multiplied by your variable, or anything really. You just multiply by the reciprocal, all cancels out. Now I was just wondering if that was the answer or not. But I'm assuming you multiply by 4. Yes, you can multiply by 4 on both sides. I'm going to do it a little more quickly. I'm going to multiply by the whole fraction, that guy's reciprocal. If I do it like that, then it's only one step. And I know that it's going to cancel, that's the whole point. So the 4 cancels with the 4, 23 cancels with the 23. We are left with 4 over 23 equals z. And that should be an answer. It's not, so I messed something up, which is very normal for me. Let's see. So we reduced there. We got z over 4 minus 7. We got 6z minus 8. We do that. I messed up here. Anybody know what I did wrong? Because I actually don't. Yeah, that's what I'm guessing too, but honestly, the 2 is negative. Ah, I wrote the problem wrong. Okay, so if the 2 is negative, then that makes this negative 6z plus 8. So yada, yada, yada. So the math that I'm doing is still the same. I rewrote the problem incorrectly from that problem. That's what I do. Because, you know, what good is a tutor if they do everything right, you know? Why would that be helpful? Okay, the x out of the denominator thing is the next thing I want to talk about since nobody's asking questions. If you have questions, you should ask me. There are like a handful of you watching, and I'm happy to do this, and I'm happy to keep talking to Jay, because Jay wants help and Jay's being smart by asking questions. Or you could ask questions. Up to you. Okay. Jay, do you have any specific questions about this? I want to talk about this thing, getting x out of the denominator next, because it's super, super important. I'll be doing some ACT passages on the weekend to ask questions next week. Awesome, good. And Brady will be back. So we can do more stuff. It looks like nobody's going to ask questions. I feel like Jay is very latent here. I'm going to erase it. Do you recommend any oral substances for studying or exams? Food and water. Yes. Oh, like specific food and specific things. Definitely normal water is what I would recommend, or maybe Gatorade if you like the electrolytes for whatever reason. You know, I've never been asked that question. I mean, aside from the general broad strokes stuff, which is, that's not good. Whatever. Cool, let's do the x out of the denominator then. I don't know why my computer's being weird. It doesn't really affect you also, don't worry about it. Have I taken omega-3s? Can't load, what the heck? What is this garbage? I can still read the chat, I'm just having trouble with the actual chat for whatever reason. Great, okay, chat's back up for me. You have a question, Brady? Or Brady17 Brady? Whatever your name is, 17 Brady 17. Oh, hello. That's not what I wanted. What is your question? What? I just don't really believe it's the real Brady. You gotta prove it in a not too embarrassing way. Why? It's so annoying. You can prove that. Here in the moment, apparently it stopped your message, sorry. Okay, we're gonna get to that other stuff in a second. I'm just having trouble having the chat up in front of me for whatever reason, but I will get to the getting x out of the denominator, and then yes, fake Brady, I can talk about the ACT science section. We can go through a bit of a section if you'd like. Would you like that? Not gonna ban you here in the moment. I think they were talking to the fake Brady. Where's my mouse? Brady, where's my mouse? There's my mouse. That's super annoying. Hey. Oh, that's not as annoying. Give me a sec, everybody. I'm almost... I won't ban you here in the moment. You're fine. Okay. No? Wow. Stupid. Very stupid. I'm really sorry this is taking so long. It'll be fixed shortly and I can actually do stuff. Hi, Slice. The issue with the chat is my chat specifically. It's just not showing up, and I have to get it from a different place. Where's the stupid chat? Oh my gosh, I hate this so much. Nobody really knows why this is so annoying, but it's very annoying. Oh my god, this freaking... You're not the real Brady. Where's the other guy? Brady. There he is. That's what I wanted. Wanted it for so long. Can someone post test in chat? There we go. There you are. I'm almost done with dealing with this stupid stuff. Okay, it's working. Good. I now can see the chat. Can't see the chat from YouTube or Facebook right now, but that generally doesn't matter anyway. Woo! It's Brady. Yes, that is the real Brady, everybody. That's Brady's old username, right? Should I ban Brady? Would that be fun for everybody? I could ban him if you want. Yes, so fake Brady, we can talk about the ACT signs. In a hot sec. What are you going to do? You actually can't stop me. Which is awesome. All right, so this situation here, this is fine, right? You have x over something, you multiply by that something, get it out of the denominator, now you have x by itself. You don't want something in your x's denominator anyway, because if something is in your x's denominator, then your x can't be isolated. You want to isolate it, okay? So you know how to deal with this, but it's weird when you have something like 8 over x equals 2. Now, you can probably guess that the answer here is 4, but that doesn't matter because knowing that it's 4 only works for this situation when it's very, very straightforward. Jay, are you still here, by the way? Can you say hi? I'm timing how long it takes Jay to respond when I ask questions. Not out of spite. Levi, if I were a sauce, what kind of sauce would I be? Apple. Okay, not bad. From the time I actually said that in real life to you, it was only like 19 seconds. Okay, no. We're going to move on to the science in a second. And then we're going to come back to your stuff too, because this is super important and useful for everybody, because this is something that most people have trouble with. Okay, in this situation, your x is in the denominator. Not only up here, like this is an annoying thing, but you just do it, right? This is relatively straightforward, multiplying by 2 to get rid of it. You have x in the denominator. You can't divide by 8 here to get rid of it. Like if you divide by 8 here, you're still going to have your x in the denominator. This does not equal x equals 1/4, right? That's not the right answer here. You can't divide by 8 on both sides, get 2 over 8, and say that x is 1/4. You can't do that because your x is still in the wrong spot. The way we deal with this is getting x out of the denominator. Calculus is worthless and always hurts my feelings. That's okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, Bird, by the way, I'm sorry I didn't respond to your text. We talked about figuring it out, and you still didn't know if you had the username and password. Can you send me those possibly? Maybe in chat. Just give me the username and password of what we're talking about in chat, and then that's all you need. Okay. The approach here is to multiply by what's in the denominator. I don't know. It makes more sense to me than discrete math or other types of math. Yeah, I mean, personally, I like calculus. I think it is a beautiful, pure, mathematical. Here, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by x on both sides to get it out, just like we did with the 2. The reason for that is to get rid of a denominator, you have to multiply by the entire denominator. Algebra is absolutely horrendous. Oh my gosh, watch it here in a moment. Watch it. Oh, in calculus. X equals 4. That's right. Yeah, so when we do this, we can then cancel that way. Now we have 8 equals 2x, and then we can divide by 2 on both sides. We get x equals 4. Okay. This is relatively straightforward as well. The concept is not hard, right? You just, to get rid of something in a denominator, you multiply so it cancels and it goes to the other side, essentially. But this is more important as questions get more complicated. Math slammed. Jay, is the wow for this or probably what Brady's saying? Let's do something slightly more complicated. If we say something like x over x minus 1 equals 7. Okay, this is more complicated. It might not be readily obvious what x is. I don't think it's an integer anyway. The same approach needs to happen. For the shortcuts, I don't remember being taught this at all. Okay, this is not a shortcut. This is just straight up isolating variables that you may or may not have ever learned. But you probably did for a short time. But this is a harder situation. The concepts are still the same. You are still trying to put x on a side by itself, which you have. But now you have to deal with this other thing, which is getting x out of the denominator. I always have this in my head. So there's just an alarm that goes off in my head. If I have my variable in the denominator, I want to get it out as soon as possible. So that's what I'm going to do here. Same thing as before. Now, I can't get rid of it by just multiplying by x. I have to multiply by the entire denominator. Do not ever forget that, okay? To get rid of a denominator, you have to multiply by the whole thing. Can't just do a piece of it, ever. See ya, Bird. So I'm going to multiply by x minus 1 here and x minus 1 here. when I do that, I don't know why I switched colors there. Let's segregate these a little bit. Go. There you go, fake Brady. You're back in charge. When we do this, these two cancel, and we have to distribute there. So we just have x on this side, which is very straightforward, and then this is going to be 7x minus 7. Yeah? Now, this is a very straightforward thing, but it may look weird to you because you're just not used to things looking like this for whatever reason, because you haven't been doing these a lot. Now we're going to subtract x from both sides. We get 0 equals 6, oh boy, x minus 7. Let's add 7 to both sides. We get 7 equals 6x. And now we know that when we divide by 6, we get x equals 7 over 6, which I'm sure you would not have been able to figure out in your head. Don't lick your knuckles. Those are very, I mean, unless they're dry and chapped, because we know that licking things like our lips and our knuckles makes them, you know, better over time, right? You're all ridiculous. Jay, thoughts? When do you multiply by the conjugate? Ooh, that's a good question. Let's do that before we do some ACT science stuff. Multiply by conjugate. Do that in a hot sec. Jay, thoughts? Questions, concerns, comments, dreams, beliefs, ideas. That's it. Those are all the words. Ooh, thank you for the follow, Slice. Appreciate it. Is that my phone doing that? What do you mean by one function can change your answer? Like one little thing like subtracting a 1 here? Or what are you talking about exactly? Good. You shouldn't be as scared of fractions anymore. Now this is just one part, but everything is going to be, this is what I follow. I don't have to know, like I didn't know what the answer would be here at all. I just made it up. But following these rules is very useful. Good. I'm glad you appreciate it. I mean, I really like it too. Just so you guys know, Brady and I are trying to make the stream bigger, and if it doesn't start legitimately growing within the next couple of months, we're probably going to have to stop, just because it's an enormous amount of our time, and we are not helping as many people as we'd like to be helping. So just keep that in mind. So if you know how to make this grow, that would be awesome. Yeah, really, just like one tip me too. Just I don't know, like things like Reddit and Discords and I'm not sure, because we've posted on Reddit and you know it works okay, but we can't post on Reddit all the time because that would just be advertising, which they don't like, which is valid because it's a community where they shouldn't have advertising necessarily, even though they kind of do now. But for us to, like, I don't know, like it just might not really lend itself to growth, or maybe we're just not, it's just not something that people want. I don't know. Reddit does attract a lot of people, for sure. Yeah. We just want it to be more than 5 people. Yeah, I mean, but we do post on Reddit, so it's not as though that doesn't exist necessarily. Like we try to post, you know, when we're doing cram sessions, but we can't post daily. We can't even post weekly. That's probably not, you know, cool. And we've talked to the mods before we started posting, just to be clear on what we were allowed to do. So we want to help people, but we also don't want to annoy too many, you know. But I'm not trying to shoot down what you guys want to do. If you think of anything, you know, go for it. You need stuff. Can you guys do cram sessions before every test SAT date? Maybe on like a Thursday or something. Yeah, it's a possibility. But I don't want to talk like that because I want this to work. That would be great. Okay, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, Jay, last thing before we go into multiplying by conjugates. To get x out of the denominator is one of the obstacles. The main thing is to put x in terms, x on one side. Get all your terms on that side and combine them. You want to get your x out of the denominator. That's another thing. And it's not this like this is the big guy here, and then everything else is kind of just other things. So we have get x out of the denominator. We have this. We have deal with radicals. So that's another thing. That's like if you have 2 radical x minus 1 plus 3 equals, sorry, let me think about this. If we had this, okay, how do you deal with radicals? I got so depressed thinking about this stream ending. Yeah, me too. I really like this stream a lot. I want to keep doing it. It's just, how many people do we have watching? Yeah, I mean, there are 5 people watching right now. And that's just not enough for what I want to do, because there are some nonprofits that actually Brady and I already work for, and I feel like our time might be better spent there. We have other stuff, other projects going on, and we just want this project to work, because this is my favorite project. It just isn't working very well. It works for you guys, for sure. Just want it to work for more people. Okay, so with this, when you have a radical, you might be scared as, this might scare you too, just as much as this did, but it's the same type of thing where there is a way to approach it, and you just do that every single time. We need to get the radical alone. That's the goal first. So we isolate the radical first. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. We get 2 rad x minus 1 equals 6. Then we're going to get rid of the 2 here. So divide by 2, divide by 2. We get rad x minus 1 equals 3. And then here is where we get rid of the radical. I'm not rude. Get out of here in a moment. Jay, let me know if any of this is too weird for you. Now we have the radical left. People think that they have to multiply both sides by radical x minus 1. Oh, I see. This, we're going to square both sides. That's how you get rid of radicals. You're doing the opposite operation. The opposite operation of taking the square root is squaring something. So you do that. The square root and the square go away on the left side. You get x minus 1 equals 3 squared is 9. And now easily you just have x equals 10. And that would be the answer there. So that is, now this is just one example of getting rid of a radical. You knew that. Nice. I think we usually multiply by the conjugate when it's in the denominator. Yes, that is generally the point. So, Slice, are you prepping for the SAT or ACT? Are you in high school? Are you in the US? Where are you? What are you? Why? Wherefore? Those things. Yes. Now you're in Europe. Cool. Okay, so conjugates have to do with studying computer science. Cool. Conjugates, generally, at least on the SAT and ACT, I don't know if that's what you're prepping for, you're just here to learn stuff, often used with complex numbers. And sometimes with radicals, at least on the tests that we talk about. So I'm going to start with the radical in the denominator, because it is difficult. So actually, this is combining the two things that we just talked about, Jay, with a radical and then also fractions. Suggest study plans for May test takers. Oh yeah, so what's... you woke up here? It's actually how the first Americans did it too. We just, we went to sleep and then woke up in the US. Luckily, you can get back more easily. 6,500K. What is 6,500K a year? That would mean $6,500,000 here in the moment. Oops is right. $6,000 a year would be sick. Okay. So, multiplying by conjugates. This is when you have something like, I don't know, 2 over 3 minus radical x equals, I don't know, 4. I don't know how well this is going to work, by the way. Study plans. Yeah, let me put that up and we can talk about that in a little bit. So, multiplying by the conjugate helps us not so much in this situation, honestly, but you could. No, it doesn't help us here. You could do it here. Here in the moment. Does anyone remember when someone came into the chat and posted a link to the cockroach meme? No, I actually don't. When was that? Slice. Slice, is this the type of thing you were talking about? Or is it something else? I'm trying to think of something better than this. There's not really much point in this. Apparently nobody remembers that here in the moment, sorry. If we had more viewers on a regular basis, I'm sure more people would be likely to remember it. You square the radical on both sides first. So here's what I would do, honestly, in this situation. Get the stuff out of the denominator first. You could feasibly use conjugates here. I'm not going to. Let's just multiply by 3 minus rad x on both sides. When we do that, these two cancel. We get a nice 2 on this side. And then let's distribute 12 minus 4 rad x. Then we're isolating the x on this side. X terms are on this side because there's only one. We've gotten x out of the denominator, so that's great. We also want to deal with radicals, so now we're doing that. But first we have to isolate the radical. So let's subtract 12 from both sides. We get negative 10 equals negative 4 rad x. And then let's divide by negative 4 on both sides. And we get 5 halves equals radical x. And now let's square both sides. The radical and the 2, or the squared, cancel. This becomes 25 over 4. If that confuses you, please let me know. Equals x. And that's your answer. 25 over 4 is what x is. You could feasibly do the conjugate here. Slice never responded. Bummer. 2 over 3 minus radical x equals 4. If we multiply by the conjugate, what that means is actually just on one side. You get 3 plus 4x radical x. Oh, right, that's what the conjugate's for. Let's just ignore the conjugate for now since slice is gone and it doesn't really matter too much. I feel way more confident in English section than math. Good, I'm glad this is getting easier. It's all about just keeping in your head the approach when you are solving for a variable in an equation. You want your x terms on the same side. You want to get x out of the denominator. You want to deal with your radicals. Now, the biggie is x's with different powers. That looks terrible. That's the big guy right there. I'm going to do that in another color. 1500. Let's go. Do it. Who asked for the science section? Can you say hi, whoever asked for the science section, so I can do it? If you don't say hi, I'm not going to do it. Brady. Fake Brady. Okay. Let's do science. Then we can come back to this, okay? If nobody else asks any questions, got a little bit of time left still, so we can come back to this one. Frady. Yes, exactly. Frady is right. I will call you Frady. Ah, study plan. You should be my Frady. Yes. Oh, by the way, I said that before I saw what you wrote, that second line, Frady. We're on the same wavelength. It's almost like you're my business partner. Yes, we can talk about, yeah, before, okay, so let's do science. As I pull a science section up, study plan. Okay, the general study plan should be take a test, see how you do on it, one where you have the answers, right? And then you need to identify what your problem areas are. So this is what we always say. There's no point in just taking test after test after test. After a certain point, it doesn't matter so much that you've done a lot. You know, obviously, if you've never seen it before, taking a couple will help just because you get more familiar. But you may or may not be at that point already anyway. It doesn't really matter. You need to take a test and then go back through and look at all the wrong answers and say, all right, here are all the wrong answer numbers, and then you need to identify those question types. So you can say, okay, well, in the English section, I get everything wrong that has a comma in it, because commas, for whatever reason, I thought they were easy, but they're really hard, apparently. If I got everything right with a comma in it, then I would get 7 more questions right, and my English score would jump enormously, right? So you want to identify your highest yielding question types that you get wrong. Now that doesn't mean a comma, it just means in the answer choices. Let's talk about the English section first, for example. You were talking to your roommate. Dude, you can't talk to your roommate. Please stop talking to your roommate. Forever. Primality. Okay. Primality sounds like something to do with primes. I'm not sure. I don't know much about prime numbers aside from like some of the smaller ones and what the definition is. Yeah, discrete math is not my forte. Okay, so here in the moment, Jay, anybody else, when you're studying for the test, you take the test and then identify the question types that give you the most trouble. Once you've done that, then you can practice those specific skills that are for commas. There are 4 uses of commas. If commas are a problem for you, you need to go through those 4 uses, practice a bunch of those questions, and then when you've done that with several different question types from each of the sections of the test, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, depending on how long you have, and you feel like you have a much fuller understanding of those question types or that passage type, then take another test or take another full section timed and see how you do then. How much each day? That really depends on your schedule. I recommend that when you're doing SAT stuff, you should spend at least half an hour every time you're doing it, just because doing 5 minutes, it keeps it in your head, but it's not allowing you to really do the deep dive to understand the concepts that you're not as good at. So I would say at least half an hour every time you do it. You don't have to do it every day. Depends on how long you have to prep. If you have a year to prep, don't do it every day. That's ridiculous. And you'll also probably run out of material. Maybe half an hour every other day, or an hour every other day if you're feeling strong. So let's do science. That was Brady, right? Frady. You can put the question in Discord or in the chat, and yeah, go for it. When I said discrete math is not my forte, I mean like I haven't studied discrete math ever. Yay, science. Yes, exactly. Yay, science. Where is my mouse? There's that. Okay. Good. 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 Okay. Okay, so the sum of 2019, it's annoying that they chose that number, consecutive integers. I would figure out where the middle is, so you have that integer n in the middle, and then everything else is on either side of it, right? So you have n plus 1, and you have n minus 1. So this is going to be 2019 plus, no, sorry. Oh, yeah, I think it's not. Okay, this would be my guess. And I get this from what I know about series and sequences. If you have a sum of these, then you have all of these different numbers going. If n is the middle, right? This is the middle number. You have 2019 numbers, so you have an odd number, so you have exactly one middle number. If this is the middle, you have n minus 1, n plus 1, n minus 2, n plus 2, and so on and so forth. So basically, you can take, you can take this 1 from here and put it to this one. So now you have n here, you have n here, of course, and you have n here. So you have all of these numbers, n being an integer, right? And then you have 2019 of them. So if you add up 2019 n's, you're going to get 2019 times n, which would mean that these are two factors of your number, so it can't be prime because it has at least one, or it has two factors. Oh, I did it. I might be wrong, but I think that's the correct answer. Does that make sense? That's kind of fun. I like that. Sorry. Does that make sense? It should. I would guess it's composite. It's not prime. Science section. Frady, what is your? Okay, so I'm going to erase that. What is your hang up on the science section? You've never done it, Frady, or you're really bad with the timing, you hate a certain type of passage, you hate a certain type of question. What's the situation? You never know what you're doing? Give me more specifics so I can talk to a certain issue. Good. All right. Very specific. You feel disorganized. Ah, I like that issue. But that would be the same case for any odd n number of consecutive integers. I guess so, yeah. Yeah? Oh, another thing to think about is let's think about when you add numbers, right? If you add an odd plus an even, right? O being, sorry, Frady, I will get to you, I promise, and we will do the last little bit with the science section. O plus E. An odd plus an even is going to be, 2 plus 3 is going to be odd, right? But this is an even number of things. So anytime you add an extra even or you add an extra odd, let's see what that situation is. So if we have two numbers, that's going to be odd. If we have, and that's here, 2 and 3 is an example. 2 plus 3 equals 5. We can do 4. That's also not the right order of things. I think this is another way to look at it. 3 plus 2 equals 5, or we could do 5 plus, these aren't exactly, they're consecutive in the wrong order, but there you go. Let's say 4. Huh? That better? 3 plus 4 equals 7. So that's odd plus even equals odd. 5 plus 6 equals 11. That's also odd. But if we have an odd number of numbers, right? So we know that an odd plus an even is an odd number. So that means that as long as, and we know that we have, let's say that you have one number. You have a single number, okay? If it's an odd number, and you add, so this is an odd number, there's just one number. And then if you have three numbers, you're still going to have an odd because you're adding an odd and an even, which will be adding an odd to an odd. Oh, do you see where I'm going with this? Basically, if you add another set of 2, so I'm building from the smallest case, right? That's what I'm going for here. This is super useless to look at, but if you have a single number, or does it matter where you start? I don't know if this is actually going to help us. What I'm going for is basically, if something is even, then it can't be prime, right? Unless it's the number 2. But I don't think this is going to work because we said integers, they don't have to be positive, so you would possibly still get the number 2. An odd plus an even plus another odd. If you start with an odd and you add, you're going to add an even and an odd, right? You're always going to be adding an even and an odd. That will yield an even number. If you start with an even and add an odd and an even, that will yield an odd number. Okay, so the even odd thing doesn't work. I don't think this approach is going to help you. I think the first thing that I explained is the way to think about it. Is that you have this series of numbers, you're adding them all together. The middle number is your average, right? So you're basically adding your average 2019 times, which means you're multiplying it by 2019. So it must work. So you have two factors. You have n, your middle number, and you have 2019. Unless, what if your middle number is 1? Oh, damn. I don't know, man. What I'm thinking of is 2019 and a prime number. No, it's not. It's not. It's divisible by 3. So, okay, awesome. Yeah, I would say that it's composite. That's my final answer in this thing that I kind of BS'd. Okay, so, hey, also, Frady, I'm very happy to do this tomorrow. If you're going to watch the stream tomorrow or Thursday, I'm happy to talk more about science as soon as you sign on, and I won't put you off so long. Okay, so when you're feeling like you're disorganized or you're unorganized, or however you want to say that, the approach should be really focusing on the question. The question is everything in the science section. The answers are generally relatively straightforward, but there's a way to look at them. It's not like math where you're like, okay, here's a question, I'm going to work, and do math stuff that I know about, and then find the answer. In the science section, you're going to very, very, very specifically be reading the question for locators. You're trying to locate every piece of the question. Just looking for general science tips, so a few minutes is probably fine. Okay, so in question number 1, for example, you have, according to figure 1, the mass of cheese remaining at 4 hours was closest to which of the following? Okay, there are a couple things that you need to pay attention to in this one, and it's actually relatively straightforward. You have figure 1. That's super obvious. That locates you at figure 1. Perfect. Then you say the mass of cheese. So cheese is probably a bigger idea than mass. It's the mass of that cheese. That's what we're looking for. Start there. Find cheese. Find where mass is represented. It's very likely, since we're looking at we're looking at a graph, it's going to be one of the axes. It's going to be mass. And then they say at 4 hours. So it's the mass at 4 hours. These are I want you to look at these as locators, or I recommend that you look at them as locators. Where can that take me? Where do I need to go based on that? You're building a path towards the answer. And you can build backwards from the answer. So the answers are all in terms of milligrams. So how do we get from this built path here, these locators, to milligrams? In mass, right? Mass can be in milligrams. That's probably what it is. Now, this is a very easy question one. You don't have to necessarily think of it this way. But your approach every single time, I seriously recommend this, is to say, just pick out everything from the question and find those things and then relate them to each other every single time. Another approach thing that's very important is on the questions like number 5. Number 5 looks very complicated. The answers are very difficult. You have to read the question, figure things out, go to the answers. Do not answer yes or no. Don't feel like you need to say, oh, I know that the answer is yes. I'll just look at A and B, or vice versa. Jay, you're here. Okay. I don't think I asked you if you were. Are you responding to something else I said? So for those questions like number 5, where it's a yes, yes, no, no thing, or bigger, bigger, smaller, smaller, or something like that, do not answer that. Look at the reasoning, because it's just generally reading a graph, reading a table. So A says at 28 hours, the mass of cat food remaining was 55, or 55 greater than the mass of ham. So cat food's mass is 55 greater than ham's mass. That's not something you have to figure out. You just go and find it and figure out if it's true or not. That way you can eliminate answers without having to actually work through the question so much, and it orients you better. So dealing with disorganization, I would recommend using locators in the question, and then things like number 5, working backwards from the answers, doing the reasoning first. So not necessarily why things are happening, but just they literally said this. Start with the easy part of the question first. It's a better way to orient yourself. Obviously, you can't do that in number 4 because it's just some quick answers. That's my quick thing here. How much time should I spend on the passage before reading the questions? None. Oh, that's the biggest thing. That's number 1. Never, ever, ever, ever read the science passage before going to the questions. You're wasting a huge amount of time reading something that you're not very good at, most likely. Okay? Never read the passage. Don't do it. Or sorry, you read the passage in the service of the questions, but go straight to the answers or questions every single time, and then go back to the passage as necessary. Okay? You're trying to do the least amount of work possible. Okay, I have to go. Thanks, everybody. This was fine. This was actually fine, yeah, without Brady. Not as fun, obviously. But ask more questions. Get some questions together tomorrow. Frady, if you want, down below in our panels is this test. This is 74F. Take the test, see how you do following these ideas, and then ask questions tomorrow. Okay, and that goes for everybody. Have a good night. I will see you all tomorrow.